podcast made by basketball fans for basketball fans. From the hottest takes, news, analysis, and passion for the sport that we all love, this is the Fast Break Pod with Finn James and Will Tremaine. Welcome back into the Fast Break Podcast, the podcast made by basketball fans.
For basketball fans.
My name is Finn James.
My name is Will Tremaine.
Welcome back to another episode, a very, very stacked episode we'll have for you on the way.
Episode 5.
It is episode 5.
Week,
I couldn't even remember what episode it was last week. We're at episode 5. Thank you all for the support. As always, this is going to be a huge episode with the first round of the NBL finally in the books with HoopsFest over in Perth, all getting wrapped up earlier this afternoon. A great little bit of basketball. It's good to be back. Breakers played. Well, everyone basically played. The Breakers in particular will be breaking down that game just around the corner on the podcast, of course, and looking at all the other games around. But of course, as we do every episode, Will Tremaine, we start with a bit of world basketball, not basketball news, world news in sport.
Well, just firstly, HoopsFest. What a great weekend that was. I just want to ask you, Finn, do you prefer HoopsFest or the Blitz?
Oh.
What would be your preferred tournament?
I like the Blitz because it's preseason. You see more people play and more sets being run and stuff like that. But I think for a first round to all be in one city with all the best of the best on display, I think HoopsFest I would most definitely prefer. I mean, if they move it around Aussie
why don't
or
they
New
come
Zealand,
to Auckland?
You never know. If it was in Auckland, mate, I'd be going to quite a few games. But, it was in Perth, and I thought it was great. Bit of a weird spot considering it's the furthest city away from everyone, but it looked entertaining. The whole of Perth got a bit of a show with all the different types of arenas that they got to play in. But, no, I think it was good. A bunch of basketball over about 4 days to kick off the first round of the season. Can't complain, Will, at all.
Yeah, that was very entertaining. But before we get into all of that, a little bit of news from this morning, coming by way of Wembley Arena in the UK. Daniel Dubois, my favourite boxer, I might add.
Oh, wow.
He got an incredible upset win over Anthony Joshua. Knocked him out after hurting him. We haven't seen that from anyone against Joshua since really the Ruiz fight, where he looked really hurt.
AJ looked like he was breakdancing for a bit there.
Yeah, he was.
Is that okay to say? Am I allowed to say that?
You could say that. It's
fine. He looked like he was breakdancing.
But that's essentially, in my opinion, his career kind of over, if we're being honest.
Really?
I mean, that Fury fight, that's always going to be there, but it's just not going to have as many eyes on it now if they were both to have been coming off a win. But incredible that they were able to sell out Wembley Arena, 96,000 people.
Jesus.
The record for arena crowd, a stadium crowd in UK's history. So that's
crazy.
Quite a awesome thing to see. Hopefully we get something like that at Eden Park with Joseph Parker. I'd love to see that.
Yeah, something maybe.
Do you catch the fight?
No, I don't watch fights. Maybe a bit of UFC, but no boxing from me. Well,
what about
that's when I save that for you.
The cricket. I know you're a cricket fan, Finn. What's
Oh
going on
yeah.
with the cricket at the moment?
By the time this goes up, I'm assuming it'll all be said and done. So, obviously the Black Caps are in Sri Lanka in Galle. Playing the first test in their little test series. The Black Caps are currently chasing in their the second innings, chasing down I think maybe 120 odd runs. I think they're like 6 wickets down already. So it's not looking too good. Rutchin Ravinder and Glenn Phillipson right now. I'm sure by the time this is up, it'll all be over. So hopefully the boys get that job done over in Galle. But that pitch looks disgraceful. The ball is turning and the spinners in Sri Lanka are dominating. So that's what happened. Will, All Blacks last night. Your thoughts from the game? I'm sure you caught it being a big rugby fan. I watched it too. I want to know what your thoughts were though.
Yeah, it was a mixed one. I thought we were playing all right in that first half, but
we looked unreal in the first half. Actually,
we collapsed in that second half. I mean, to scrape away with a 3-point win against the Wallabies, who have looked abysmal for the last few years. I mean, this is the team that lost to Argentina by about 45 points a few weeks ago.
And they conceded all those points in like 20 minutes.
Exactly.
Yeah. And
we can only get by with a 3-point win. And we looked awful in that second half. They
really
were all
bad.
Over us in that second half. So there are a lot of things we need to work on.
Almost felt like we didn't even deserve to win almost.
Yeah.
We got lucky.
I was rooting for the Aussies in that last 5 minutes.
Okay, that's stretched. 2 yellow cards, obviously, in the end of that game. Almost cost us, but did scrape over the line. Bledisloe Solars. Shout out Harry Plummer. Auckland boy getting his test debut as well. And Argentina,
Cody
massive.
Taylor looked good in that All Blacks game, though. I got to shout out Cody Taylor.
Cody Taylor's impressed me in the last few games.
He's definitely solidified that starting hooker spot over Almua, I think.
And Will Jordan's looking pretty good too.
Yeah.
I think they need to just stop stuffing him around. I think they need to put him at fullback and leave him there. I'm sick of him getting thrown on the wing all the time. I think Will Jordan needs to be the All Blacks 15 for the future.
100%.
And this morning, Will, huge upset in the Rugby Championship. Argentina 1-point win over the Springboks. I don't know where they were in Argentina. I'm not sure where. Or maybe they were in South Africa.
No, they were in Argentina.
Yeah.
But crazy upset.
1-point win. That's huge. I did not expect that happening. That basically means the All Blacks will be playing off for last and second to last in the Rugby Championship. But a huge upset win for Argentina. That makes me happy. Shame all you South African fans that were bagging the All Blacks. Argentina beat us at home, and now they've got to win over you. So big old
now
shame.
that means that next weekend is the playoff for who wins the Rugby Championship. If they can get it done against the Box again, then Argentina will beat the Box.
That would be the first time they've won that. I think it would be the first time they've even placed better than third as well. So shout out Argentina rugby, man. It's come a long way in the last 4 or 5 years.
They only scored 3 penalties in that second half of that game. I saw the highlights. Only 3 penalties, so all those points were scored in the first half. A very slow second half in that game as well.
Yeah, and now that's all wrapped up. HoopsFest will. Obviously, a lot of games. There was 5 games on the weekend with all 10 teams playing. Before we get into the Breakers game and dissecting all that, we'll go through the other games that obviously were played. First game of the round, may I say, Melbourne United, Tasmanian Jack Jumpers, grand final rematch, obviously from last year. Did it live up to the hype?
It did. I think this is how I expected it to go last year, if I'm being honest, in the finals. But the Tassie Jack Jumpers, they couldn't get the job done this weekend. Milton Doyle, though, he's looking good. He scored 23 for them. I know it wasn't the most efficient, 9 for 21, but they just need someone to be that go-to bucket scorer for them. And Dellavedova for the Melbourne United, he looked really impressive. Former NBA guy. He had 21 points. I think he can just be that veteran presence and lead that team. So, that was a great game to kick off HoopsFest.
It's obvious that Tassie's missing Jack McVeigh pretty bad. So, obviously, Jack McVeigh went off to the Rockets on that little 2-way deal for the season. And Tassie basically replaced him with Ruben Tarangi. I think that it's safe to say that's a bit of a downgrade. All respect to Ruben Tarangi, he had a really impressive year with the Tuatara over in New Zealand recently, and has played pretty good basketball in the NBL, but obviously not at that Jack McVeigh level, and I think Tassie fans are probably missing him quite a bit, Will.
Yeah, and second game of HoopsFest, Perth Wildcats got the job done against Southeast Melbourne Phoenix. 2 teams that I'm expecting to do quite well this year, so that was a good match-up to see. Bryce Cotton and Keanu Pinder again for the Perth Wildcats. Probably the best duo in the NBL, dare I say. They cooked the Breakers in that preseason game that we had against them, and they just continued to dominate throughout this game. Southeast Melbourne Phoenix, Derek Walton was really struggling in this game.
Yeah, 3 for 11 from the field, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. So he's going to need to pick that up if Southeast Melbourne want to have a run at that title this year.
Yeah.
What were your takeaways from that game?
Yeah, Bryce Cotton and Keanu Pinder, of course, proving that they're probably the best duo, like you said, Will, in the NBL, combining for, I think, 54.
Crazy.
Bryce Cotton had 8 threes on the game. Pinder with 29 points. Cotton with 26. Absolute dominant masterclass. Youngster off the bench for Perth, Ben Henshaw, getting a few runarounds there. 10 points from him. He was just had a little stint over in Otago in the NBL here. He's got a bright future ahead. Young guy. I hope that Perth give him a chance this year. And Southeast Melbourne, although they didn't win the game, some very positive signs. 6 players in double figures, Will. So your take about them going pretty far. Not a bad take, especially if all players are firing on all cylinders. Derek Walton, bit of a struggle fest, but
the other players picked it up for him though.
Yeah,
so
with 6 players in double figures. Obviously, the Perth Wildcats led for most of that game, but a valiant effort in the fourth quarter from Southeast Melbourne to try and bring it back, but just fell a bit short, sadly.
What about that whitewash of a game? Following on, Illawarra Hawks got a dominant win, 102-75 over the Cairns Taipans Fin. Did you catch any of that one?
I did. I watched a bit of this last night. I'm not even surprised, to be honest. Cairns, I have them probably finishing 10th. I think we've kind of talked about them a little bit. Just a team that just doesn't... I think they're just going to struggle once again. They struggled quite a bit last year. Tatum what's his first name again? Justin Tatum. Proving that he is probably one of the best coaches in the NBL. Obviously coming in last season with the Hawks and turning around their season completely on its head, 180, and getting them into the playoffs. Looks like he's carrying on his form. 102-75 win over the Taipans. Darius Days, the Gary Clark clone for this season, 20 points and 12 rebounds. Really impressive game from him. Not surprised. There wasn't really any takeaways from Cairns. Sam Wardenberg looked good at times, the Kiwi centre, but other than that, Illawarra, easy game for them. Wasn't surprised, almost a 30-point win, Will.
Yeah, it's looking like it's going to be a rough season for the Cairns Taipans. I think we both had them finishing in that 10 spot for the season, but hopefully they can bounce back in the coming weeks. I always root for Cairns. I don't know why. I have a little bias towards them, I find. And the final game of HoopsFest, Adelaide 36ers, Sydney Kings. This was a close one up until the last few minutes.
Yeah.
Sydney Kings getting the job done, 102-94. But it was a bit of a dogfight throughout that game, Finn.
Yeah, man. So
back and forth.
This other than the Breakers game, for bias reasons, this was probably my game of the round. Obviously just wrapped up a few hours ago here. Montrezl Harrell's first return to the basketball court in about 2 years. And like you said, Will, a dogfight, a back and forth affair. The Kings would go up. The 36ers would come back. Dejan Vasiljevic and Lat Mayen looked electric. Lat Mayen, a really efficient game from him. Really, really disappointed with Isaac Humphrey's performance today. 1 for 5 from the field. Literally just did not know how to get going. A player that really needs to step up for the 36ers. But yeah, Montrezl Harrell's first return to the court. He was yapping, some could say. He literally got a technical warning from the ref for including the crowd too much after he shot a free throw. He was mic'd up for the game. They went to him quite a bit.
Haven't seen that before.
And yeah, so he also got that block on Xavier Cooks and went right up to the camera baseline and just shouted at them.
What about that poster dunk he almost also got?
He almost killed Kelly Lepepe.
That was crazy.
They called an unsportsmanlike foul on Kelly Lepepe for that. I understand how it could have been unsportsman because it was a pretty dangerous act, but he didn't even really see him coming.
Yeah.
But unfortunate, wrong place, wrong time. The one takeaway, I love Montrezl Harrell, a 13-13 game with his first, game back on the court, high energy. He looks a bit out of shape, but it's kind of expected from some guy who's probably been out of basketball for a while, considering his injury. So I think if you give him some time and he gets back into shape and adjusts to the league, he's going to be huge, high energy guy, and he still looks athletic. What did you think of Sydney, Will? Obviously, one of the takeaways we had was them finishing quite high this year.
No, Sydney are looking scary. That is for sure. They just have such a deep team. Xavier Cooks, Jalen Adams, Alex Tui, Cam Oliver. I mean, the list goes on. Isaiah Liafa off the bench. I know he had
of his pretty cheats game.
0 points, but that's going to be a rare occurrence for him. Let's just say.
Liafa has the ability to get going.
Yeah.
So,
but this team is just stacked with talent.
Deep.
Cam Oliver, he's quickly becoming one of my favorite players to watch.
Oh, yeah.
Just one of the smoothest jumpers in the NBL.
Wow.
And of course, Xavier Cooks, probably the best player in the NBL.
Top 5.
Jalen Adams, absolute bucket. He finished with 25 points. He was their leading scorer. I think he can be that go-to guy for them.
Oh, yeah.
And they're just looking like...
So you think Jalen Adams could potentially be the first option for the Kings, maybe?
I think in those clutch situations where you need a 3, I think Jalen Adams is your go-to guy.
Oh, okay.
Down the line.
Yeah.
But obviously, with that much talent on the team, it doesn't really matter whose hands the ball goes to. Because they're probably going to score, and they're probably going to win it all this year. Apart from the Breakers, who we'll get into now. But I think they're going to be the strongest challenger for the Sydney Kings. Tripling down.
Mate, we might even be quadrupling down now.
Quadrupling down.
But to be fair,
great game.
Going into this game, Will, I was not confident at all. We were somehow heavy favourites across multiple betting sites.
Yeah, check your TAB receipts, Finn.
Well, my TAB receipts have me losing money on them. So... The Bullets won the Blitz. Tyrell Harrison MVP, dominant throughout the preseason. Breakers 0 for 5. Didn't look like they were getting going. All we knew was that we were trending in the right direction. And when I saw that we were coming up against the Blitz champions, coming off hot momentum, I wasn't confident at all. And I feel like that's fair. That's fair to say, right?
That's fair. Even I wasn't that confident, being the optimistic Breakers fan that I am. I thought the Bullets were going to handle us pretty easily, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
Considering we were playing in Australia, enemy territory, you might say. I thought this was going to be a tough one for us to get done. So I was thoroughly impressed with the fact that we were dominating most of that game. We were up by 26 at one point in that game, Finn.
I know.
And then, as it has been for every game in this preseason so far, we just fell apart in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
That is the one area that we really need to get fixed going forwards if we want to do well this season.
Yeah, despite the dub for the boys, and like you said, Will, bloody dominant game too.
Yeah.
Classic Breakers fashion has been something they've struggled with for multiple years now. It's that fourth quarter. Let me just bring up the score in the fourth. 35-19. That lead's gone out the window. Something that we need to tidy up for sure. I don't know if it's because they put a lid on the rim for us and we couldn't really score some buckets, but conceding 35 points in the fourth, not something you want to see, especially when you're going in hot off momentum from the third. If we want to be able to compete down the stretch in games against some of the better teams in the league, that fourth quarter needs to be the strongest so we can close out teams. When we come up against Sydney, we need to close out. So that fourth quarter is something that we need to work on for sure. You can't almost throw the lead away. But luckily we didn't. We still got the dub. And a win is a win.
A win is a win. And there were some players that really stood out for me. First of all, Sam Menenga.
Foot Locker player of the game.
I'll have you remember, I did mention a few episodes ago.
Little throwback action.
I did say Sam Menenga would be starting at the center position for the Breakers by Game 5 of the season. So I know the circumstances may be a little bit iffy with Gillespie having that 1 game ban, but didn't he impress in that first game for the Breakers, Finn? 22 points.
Excellent performance from Sam. Really showed his scoring ability, which is what we've needed to see from him. Being probably, I don't know now, after his first game, I don't know if he was listed at the 4 or the 5, but starting game, maybe he gets the nod over Freddie next week.
I think Freddie has to earn that spot back now.
You think he does?
I think he does.
But a hugely impressive performance, 7 boards as well. I think 2 for 5 from 3, stretched the floor well. Defensively was pretty sound as well down the middle, and just looked really comfortable. And I know how much you've been raving on about him and how you think he's going to be starting. If he continues this form, I don't see why he couldn't be. No.
And I think he proved that he plays really well with PJC as well, which is one aspect that you're going to want out of your starting center. Obviously, PJC is our guy. He's our go-to scorer. So we want our center to be able to work really well in that pick-and-roll scenarios with Parker Jackson Cartwright.
Pick and pops too.
And that really, really proved to be the case in this game. PJC had 11 assists in this game. So he was finding the open man. And I think the two of them worked well together. PJC, a bit of a quiet game scoring, 20 points.
It's not quiet.
0 for 3 from 3. You'd expect him to usually get at least 1 3 a game.
Yeah.
So the fact he still scored 20, though, I think that proves that 25 points per game is a possible outcome throughout this season.
It's funny you say it was a quiet one for him, because although he scored 20, obviously second top scorer on the team, Sam with 22, it felt like he was scoring a lot more, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
You say it's a quiet game for PJC with only 20 points.
He had the 11 assists, though, so he was finding the players.
It's a huge game from PJC, and
don't get me wrong,
he's only going to get better, which is the scary part. And I think his ceiling is quite high this year. Now that it's his second season in the league, he's familiar with some of the players, how the officials work, how the leagues run. He's going to be more comfortable. He's probably going to fit in even better this year. And I feel like the roster they've surrounded him with a bunch of shooters, it's going to open up that floor for him. He's a great finisher. 11 assists, Will. MVP caliber season, maybe?
I think he's going to lead the league in assists.
That's a good take. That's a really good take. I think it's possible.
Along with possibly scoring. And, if someone leads the league in points and assists, I don't see how you don't give them the MVP award. Especially if the team is doing well as well. And to beat the Blitz champs in Game 1, I think it's a good start for us, Finn.
Definitely a good start. Really happy with how the boys played. A lot of positives for sure. That one negative was the fourth quarter. In terms of a couple other things that stood out to me, why was Max Darling starting?
Yeah.
I'm sure there would have been reasoning behind this. I do like Max Darling. He impressed me quite a bit in the Blitz. I have no hate for Max Darling.
We like Max Darling.
We like Max Darling.
I was glad to see him getting that. Although I found it odd, I was happy to see him getting that starting position.
It confused me.
I thought he deserved it, but
I don't think he deserved it. No hate to Max Darling being the 12th man that got thrown in basically last second from a DP last year. Wasn't something I expected. He played 16 minutes and, well, he recorded one stat, being an assist.
It's better than 0.
Better than a donut. Better than a Tony Snell game, Max. I think you're a great player. I was just confused why you were starting. I'm sure there must have been reasoning behind this. Like, Kareem Lopez did get on the court in the end. But I don't know if he continues to start in the future or Kareem Lopez comes in. Or maybe potentially Mojave King gets the nod in the starting position too, which I really hope he doesn't, Will, because I'll move on to my next point.
Yeah, this is a hot take right here, guys.
I don't know how hot it is. I'm quite confident with this take, but from what I can see, if Mojave King continues to start on the bench all year, he is 100% going to be a top 3 contender for the NBL Sixth Man of the Year award come the end of the year.
Wow. I could see that, but I just don't see him being in that 6th man position. I think he is going to start. I think he's going to move back into the 3. I think they're going to play around with that starting 3 position, as they obviously experimented with Max Darling. They tried it with Kareem Lopez in the preseason. I think they're eventually going to realize that Mojave King needs to be starting at the 3 position, Finn. But I very well could see, if he does continue to come off the bench, I think you're onto something there.
I just don't see how we can afford to start him, considering we need like a high volume of scoring from the bench. If we move Mojave King to that starting position, his efficiency, well, I don't think his efficiency will go down, but his usage rate is going to go down because he doesn't have to share the court with the likes of PJC and Matt Mooney. When he's coming off the bench with Mitch McCarron, like we've spoken about in last episode, 2 guys that can coordinate the offense and work together to score those much needed bench points, I don't see why they would want to move him into the starting lineup. I genuinely think that if Mojave King stays there, he has a really good chance of averaging maybe between 10 and 15 points a game. On good efficiency, I really do think that he will be able to win potentially that that NBL Sixth Man of the Year.
You know, the one other player I noticed came off the bench in this first round, Finn, who might give Mojave King a little bit of a run for his money in that 6th man role that you hope he's going to get, is Cam Oliver for the Sydney Kings. I don't know why he was coming off the bench. Obviously, it speaks to their depth, but if he comes off the bench for their whole season, he is going to be a strong contender for that award as well.
Obviously, he's one of the most talented players in this league. If for some reason, I don't see why they'd keep starting him on the bench. Maybe for that similar reason that they need the scoring off the bench. I mean, Kawhi Noy's off the bench too, who was a contender a few years back for that 6-man role. But I mean, Cam Oliver coming off the bench all year. Yeah, I think you probably could be right, giving Mojave King a bit of a run for his money for obvious reasons. But yeah, it'd be a bit silly not to probably inject Cam Oliver into that starting position soon. And obviously Montrezl Harrell starting off the bench for Adelaide this game as well. But I have a feeling that's definitely not gonna stay. It was his first game back in basketball, so I'm sure
he'll be starting.
Harrell will be injected into that starting role very, very soon. But yeah, Mojave King, very impressive game from him. Shot the ball really well. Had a really fluky buzzer beater at halftime. That little hook shot that bounced off the top of the rim. Shot the 3-ball well. Just a genuine scorer. 47th pick in last year's draft. Got injured a little bit playing for the Mad Ants last year. He's come over, really tried to revive his career. I think
he's looked really good in every game, I must say. I haven't seen him play bad yet.
I haven't found a flaw yet. He's very smooth, shoots the ball with confidence, an athletic guy.
Very athletic.
He is made probably for the NBA, give him a few years. Maybe this is just the place he needs to be. And I also just saw a little report of him recently. Obviously, he was born in New Zealand, moved to Australia when he was 3. And his goal was to make the NBA, maybe play for the Boomers. But now that he's come back, he has a Kiwi passport. Stuff Sport, stuff.co.nz. They did a interview with him, and apparently the Tall Blacks might be on the cards for him if he's selected in the future. So he said that he's not riding out the Tall Blacks if he does get selected. He said the Boomers was his first option in terms of international basketball, but now that he is back in New Zealand, he apparently feels at home.
That would be big
win. If the Boomers fall through, then potentially maybe a little Tall Blacks call up for Mojave King, which I think would be excellent.
That would be massive. I think he would go straight into that best player on our team position.
He'd be up there.
The main scorer, I think.
He'd definitely be up there, bro.
Why is Steven Adams... Sorry, just to go off track a little bit. Why has he never played for the Tall Blacks, Finn?
So, I have a theory. I don't know how true this is, and I might probably maybe cop some crap and whatever. My theory is that Steven Adams, grew up, big family, potentially not a lot of money. I'm not too sure. Wasn't there. Through age group basketball in New Zealand, potentially maybe getting selected for camps. Basketball's not a funded sport in New Zealand. So potentially maybe he might have not been able to afford to go to the camps. I don't want to assume anything here. And maybe they just said, well, you're not allowed to come then. And then maybe he didn't get the opportunities. Maybe New Zealand basketball didn't treat him that well. Has a bad relationship.
That's fair enough.
Scott's college took him on a scholarship under his wing, and then obviously ended up in the NBA. And, when you're earning however much he's earning a year, why would he risk getting injured like he already has in the previous year, playing for a country that's not really going to offer him much?
Yeah. No, that's a good point. But Mojave King would be a very interesting addition to the Tall Blacks.
I'd love that.
So, I really hope that comes to fruition. Another player, the starting shooting guard for the Breakers. He had a bit of a quiet game, but Matt Mooney, I think he proved that he can just be that efficient number 2 option next to PJC.
Yeah.
He had an efficient game, 50% from the field. He only finished with 8 points, I believe.
10 points, yeah.
But I was impressed with what I saw from Matt Mooney.
I was impressed, yeah. I think in the first half he looked really good. PJC was finding him quite a bit. Potentially, knocked down a few shots. Maybe the defense adjusted to what he was putting out there. He looks like he's shooting the ball well. Those last 2 blitz games, he really impressed me. So yeah. I'm happy with him putting up 10 if Sam's putting up 22.
Yeah.
So I can't really complain. He's cemented himself in that starting 2 spot. Plays a bit of point guard as well. And it's really starting to see that that backcourt duo of PJC and Matt Mooney is going to work really well going forward. 2 genuine scorers, both very comfortable handling the ball, and it could be quite scary for other teams to try and match up with those 2.
Yeah, and another player that impressed me again. He's impressed me in most games so far. Grant Anticevich. I really wish he got more minutes.
Yeah,
because he was limited with game time in this one. Played 16 minutes, so a decent amount. Got 5 points, but he was 2 for 3 from shooting. So he's proving that he can be an efficient guy. And again, that jump shot of his just... I don't know about you, Finn. It's one of the cleanest jumpers I think I've seen in the NBL.
It's nice, dude.
Very nice. So I want to see him getting more game time.
He looks super confident. Like he's shooting contested shots. I think more game time for Anticevich would be great. But how could he possibly slot in, Will, with the bigs that we do have on display here?
I mean, this was a game where I suppose he could have got more minutes than usual with Freddie Gillespie being out. But if Gillespie really can't come back and prove what we brought him over here for, to be that depoy contender, which we saw flashes of in the last game of the preseason, but we really need to see more from him on the offensive side, I think, and just proving that he can stay out of that foul trouble. Otherwise, it might be an early exit for Freddie Gillespie from the Breakers, and Grant Anticevich could be going into more game time.
So if it's an early exit for Freddie, do they, obviously that opens up an import spot, do they fill it in a completely different position and just run local for bigs?
Well, here's my thinking, Finn. So I know you're a big fan of the Clippers, as we mentioned. Montrezl Harrell, he's been signed by the Adelaide 36ers, but I believe it's only as injury cover.
Yeah, for Jarrell Martin.
For Jarrell Martin, until he comes back. So once he's back...
You're going to say they're going to sign Montrez.
I think, could Montrez be an option for the Breakers to come in and fill in for Freddie Gillespie?
I can't see that happening. That is one strange alternate universe if they somehow land Montrezl Harrell. I just don't see how all the stars could align.
He might love his time over here in the NBL. Want to stick around? Who knows?
Oh, wow. Well, you crack me up. I can't see how that's ever going to happen.
Well, I'm here for the hot takes, Finn.
Is that even a hot take? That's just a silly take.
It's a hot take. It's possible.
Speaking of hot, Keandre Cook. Hey, the one player on the Bullets that really impressed us. Keandre Cook, import guard for the Bullets, 25 points, 5 of 9 from 3. He was quite hard to stop leading that comeback. Will
he carried that whole team really? I mean, 25 points. I don't think a single other player got above 10. I think their second best player was. So
Casey Prather with 11 off the bench. I think at some point
single-handedly carrying them in that game. But yeah, couldn't get the job done. 5 for 9 from 3 is really impressive, though. It looked a little bit like Bryce Cotton in that game.
Yeah. I mean, Bryce Cotton had 8 threes.
Exactly. So, hopefully we see more from him. I think he's going to be their go-to guy this season for the Brisbane Bullets.
Yeah.
But, no, it was an impressive outing from the Breakers. We just need to figure out that fourth quarter. And if we get that one sorted, then... the sky's the limit for the Breakers.
Yeah, and they're going to continue to get better, so it's really good to see. A 91-87 win to start off the season against the Blitz champions. Incredibly happy with that. And obviously next weekend, Sunday, 29th of September, first home game of the year against Southeast Melbourne Phoenix. Will and myself will probably be attending the game, so if you want to come get it... Nah, I'm not going to say if you want to come get a picture or anything, that's cringe. Yeah, we'll be attending the game. hopefully it's a good crowd. I'll be really looking forward to seeing how Auckland fans will be embracing the Breakers this year. Obviously, Spark Arena has been a pretty good home for the Breakers in the last few seasons. So, a big game against Southeast Melbourne Phoenix, one of Will's, dark horses to potentially go quite far in this year's NBL. So, really looking forward to the game next week, and hopefully, in front of a pretty good home crowd. We'll see how the crowd can amp them up, see how they're going to be at home this year. See if they continue to gel. And, Freddie Gillespie's first game of the year, I'm going to be really interested to see what kind of impact he's going to...
starting?
I think Freddie Gillespie will be starting.
Okay.
I don't really think he left a big hole not being there last night, but I think it'll be interesting to see what type of impact he has coming in if defensively they are better. So it'll be really interesting to see if Southeast Melbourne have a really good game against us scoring-wise, especially points in the paint. That'll be something I want to see, a little deeper stat. Obviously, with Freddie holding down that paint, Will.
Hopefully, Derek Walton struggles again. I hate to be that guy, but if he can struggle again, it's going to be a good opportunity for us Breakers at home in front of a crowd, hopefully sold out crowd. We're going to bring the noise, the energy. I think the Breakers are going to get this one done.
Hope so. And, Derek Walton has an opportunity to do some pretty special things, and he has in this league before.
Yeah.
And so, same with Nathan Sobey, somebody who played really well for the Bullets last year, obviously on Southeast Melbourne.
Yeah.
Shut those two guys down. We have a pretty good chance at winning this one. But, yeah, really looking forward to that. Of course, Breakers back in action at Spark Arena, which is huge. And, we'll definitely be catching that and probably having a live reaction straight after the game for the podcast to get our initial views on the game as well.
So, moving over to some NBA news, Finn. Joel Embiid, he signed
another week,
a 3-year, $192.9 million contract.
Well,
let that just sink in for a second. $64 million a year.
I don't want to hear it, bro. It's another week, another huge extension signed in the NBA, and quite frankly, it makes me feel sick to my bloody stomach knowing how much money these people are getting paid to play basketball.
Why don't you look in the camera there, Finn, and ask Joel for a little bit of money as well? We've already asked Steph and Jamal.
Hey.
Let's ask Joel.
So I'm on my third player recruiting now. Jamal, you never got back to me. You blocked me on Instagram. Steph Curry, you left me undelivered, mate. So I'm hoping we can go one step further with you, Joel. If you're hearing this, mate, if you want to invest in the Fast Break podcast, I'm here for you. We'll get you on. We'll give you a little sponsored spot. All I need is $1 million. It feels like I'm on Shark Tank right now.
We're going to double down, Finn. Come on.
Double down on what?
We want $2 million.
Oh.
That's what we discussed.
$2 million, please, Joel.
Yeah.
But no, congratulations, Joel Embiid. I think this is a good signing from the 76ers too, Will.
Yeah, why wasn't it 5 years? The only thing I can think of is, Joel's been an injury-prone player.
Yeah.
A 5-year contract is locking him in for quite a while. He's going to be a bit older by that point. So I think a 3-year contract was smart move by the Sixers.
Yeah, I think so too. It doesn't keep them, like you said, locked in for 5 years just in case he's been injured quite a bit during his career. MVP caliber player. Obviously won MVP in the past. 64 mil, sweet. Give me one. I'm sure you can share some, Joel. But probably a good move from the Sixers, especially now with Maxey and PG. Hopefully PG's on a 4-year deal as well, so they're going to be trying to probably build around the three of them for the foreseeable future until PG gets old and injured again.
Yeah, that's kind of already current times.
Yeah,
but
I love him. I love him though.
The poll last week, Finn, should we just talk about that quickly? The top 10 point guards list that we guys gave you. Unsurprisingly, I saw this coming, this hatred for my list from my Blazers bias. But we had 8 votes for you, Finn. Only 3 for me. It's quite a dominant showing. Obviously, the people have spoken. Your list was a lot more accurate.
Well, obviously, you had Damian Lillard as a top, what? Did you have him 4th?
I had him 4th. I got a little bit of love for that, I'm not going to lie.
I didn't
Shout
see
out to
any...
some of those guys from 33. They agreed with me. Damian Lillard is still the 4th best point guard in the NBA.
Well, not many people agree with you because clearly I had more votes on the poll. I think that mine was definitely more accurate. But
I think people were scared into not voting for me by you, Finn.
Sure, bro.
Anyway, this week, shooting guards.
This was really hard.
It's not a very deep position.
Will and myself didn't realize how shallow the shooting guard position was until we started writing down our top 10. This was pretty hard. I feel like the top 4 was kind of easy. We jumbled our orders around a little bit. We jumbled the orders around a bit. But the 4 players were all there. But 5 to 10, mate, honestly, it's pretty up in the air.
I think this is the weakest position in the NBA. Based on what
One of them probably is, yeah. Yeah, I think from what I've seen, this is probably the weakest.
But 10-1 again, Finn, like last
Yeah,
week?
we'll
Do
do
you want
it
to get us
exact-
started?
The only reason you want me to get us started is
I love this pick
so
from you, Finn.
I've got bullied into this off camera. Will Tremaine actually held a gun to my head. Nah, in all fairness, this guy... So this is basically a prediction to see...
Yeah.
Oh, and just to clarify before we get into the list, Jaylen Brown not on the list, where he will be in the small forwards list next week. And so, same with Paul George.
Yeah.
So those two didn't make the list. They'll be on our small forwards list in the next episode. But yeah, I was held at gunpoint.
Will they?
If they're not... Those get into that next week, bro. Let's get into that next week. But at number 10 spot, I have Anthony Simons. Will was very excited that I put him here. I think if he stays healthy this year and gets the opportunities he deserves on Portland, there's a really good chance he could be a very dominant scorer, a great three-point threat. And yeah, I have him at number 10 because I think he has the potential to have a really good year.
Yeah, a bit like my number 10 pick. I have a guy from the Houston Rockets, Jalen Green. I think, like Anthony Simons, he has a lot of potential there. And again, this list is predicting who we think are going to be the 10 best shooting guards by the end of next season.
Yeah.
So a little bit of foresight for players with more potential than others, like Jalen Green. I think he's going to have a good year. He proved in the second half of last year that he can be a very good player, efficient as well.
He really struggled in the first half.
Yeah,
almost lost a lot of his minutes, but he sort of came right in the back end of last season. So
I think him and Sengun, they're doing something over there in Houston. So
yeah, maybe
he's slotting in at number 10 for me. And number 9, Finn?
Yeah, so I've got a Trailblazers legend, some could say. I've got the Pelicans shooting guard CJ McCollum. Genuine threat offensively. Had a really good year shooting the three ball last season. I think 42 on the year, which is I think one of his better seasons shooting the three ball. And now with DeJounte Murray coming over, less pressure of him playing the point and running the ball up, so he can play a bit off the ball, kind of focusing on the scoring. So I think, he's a solid player, has been for many years. I think, CJ McCollum, not a horrible pick at number 9 here.
Yeah, my number 9, Zach LaVine, I think.
Because that's quite low, I think.
You think that's low?
Yeah.
I mean, he had obviously very injury prone. He had a rough year last year with injuries. But he did average, I think it was 27 the year before that. So I think he's still deserving of a top 10 spot at the number 9 spot on this list.
Definitely top 10.
But I can't put him any higher, just based on what I saw last year, the limited games he did have. Yeah, Zach LaVine's at number 9 for me.
I've got Bradley Beal at 8. Obviously really struggled last year. I think that new outfit in Phoenix, maybe he was finding it hard to adjust, but I mean, he led the league in scoring not long ago back in the Wizards, so it can score on all 3 levels. A player that just needs to be around the right coach. Obviously, Budenholzer's over there now. They got rid of Vogel. Was it Budenholzer?
Yeah.
We might get cussed out in the comments for this. I think it's Budenholzer. They got a new coach over in Phoenix, so Bradley Beal slotting in at number 8 for me. I think he might have a better year now that him, Booker, and KD have adjusted potentially over the offseason. So I got Beal at number 8.
I don't have Beal on my list, Finn.
That's crazy.
I don't think he averaged 16 points per game last year. I know he was coming back from injury, and he's obviously behind Devin Booker and Kevin Durant, but like you mentioned, Devin Booker is going to be starting at the 2 position for Phoenix. So where is Bradley Beal? Is he going to be off the bench?
Maybe. Yeah, that's a good point.
So I couldn't put Bradley Beal on this list because he's either going to be coming off the bench at the 2 or he's going to be starting at the 3. So that is why I've left Bradley off this list. Number 8 for me is CJ McCollum. You mentioned him before. Very efficient year last year with the Pelicans. Unfortunately, couldn't do that for the Blazers a few years back. But yeah, he's a bucket. He's going to be back at his number 2 position, which is his natural spot. Obviously, he was playing the 1 last year. So I think he's going to have a good season again for the Pelicans. He's at my number 8.
Good pick, to be fair. I've got Zach LaVine at 7. I mean, he's a great scorer, stupidly athletic. He might be a bit better with Giddey on the court with him this year. DeMar DeRozan gone as well. So, I mean, Kobe White's still on the team, but yeah, Zach LaVine at 7 for me. Just a bit of a no-brainer, I think. Yeah.
Number 7 for me. You mentioned him before. I don't want to hear any people coming at me with the glazing for the Blazers here, but Anthony Simons is going to be number 7 for me.
Biased ass pick.
It's not. Again, this is foreseeing who is going to be the 10 best shooting guards by the end of next year. And I think a full, healthy year of Anthony Simons in Portland, I mean, he's proven he averaged 23 last year. I think as that number one option, hopefully Jeremy Grant's gone by then on the Portland Trail Blazers. I think he could be averaging 27 next year. He is going to be at number 7 for the Blazers.
That's not getting cut out.
It is getting cut out. Number 6, Finn?
Derek White, number 6. I don't know how he's somehow become one of the best shooting guards in the NBA, but I mean, he's on the championship team and a genuinely good role player. I think does he lead guard blocks as well?
Yeah.
Something ridiculous.
Incredible defender.
He'd work on any team as a role player, but he's also better than a role player now. I think he shoots the ball well. I think he averaged 15 or 16 a game behind Jaylen Brown and Tatum and Porzingis, potentially. And I mean, Holiday on the court too.
Yeah.
Really, really good player on the best team in the league. He's the glue guy. They need him. Derek White, number 6 for me.
Yeah, Derek White, number 6 for me as well. Everything you just mentioned. And number 5, we've got the same pick for number 5 as well. I think this is pretty clear. Desmond Bane. He averaged 24 last year.
Really good year.
Kind of went under the radar. I forgot he played. He
went under the radar because the Jazz was so poo that...
The Grizzlies.
Sorry, Jazz. It's been a long day, people. The Grizzlies were so poo last year that obviously they got no media attention really, but Desmond Bane, really good year without Ja.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see how many points he averages with Ja back on the court with him.
Yeah, it's going to go down with Jaren Jackson Jr. as well.
Yeah, a little bit.
But I think he's the clear number 5 pick there.
Great shooter, good defender. I think, yeah. And we've got the same pick at number 4 as well.
Yeah, so 3 in a row here.
Kyrie Irving, I think, bit of a no-brainer here. I mean, he is a shooting guard now in my eyes. Obviously played point in the past, but Kyrie Irving...
Luke is the one there now. So.
Yeah. Kyrie Irving, number 4. Do we even really need to say why?
No, I think he's a clear number 4. And I think the top 3 is pretty... Like the point guards last week, I think these 3 players are the clear top 3 in the NBA. Just depends what order you have.
Jumbled around a little bit here. So who do you have at number 3?
Number 3, I have Anthony Edwards.
Okay.
So, I mean, obviously he proved he can lead his team as the number 1 option to the 3 seed, I believe they were. But I just didn't see enough. Early exit in the playoffs.
Him at the Olympics as well was just outstanding.
He's crazy good. And I think he has the potential to be one of the best players in the NBA within the next few years.
Yeah, not even a hot
haven't
take.
quite seen him enough to be at number 2 or 1 for me above the other 2 players.
Do you not think by the end of next season he's going to be number 1? Because this is a prediction.
Yeah, I tossed it up, but I also think the other 2 players are also young, and I still think they're in their prime now. I think they're also going to have phenomenal years. So it's quite interchangeable, but I had to put him at my 3. Who did you have at your 3?
So I have Donovan Mitchell at number 3 for me, which, I mean, it was really hard between the top 3 of these players. But yeah, Donovan Mitchell at 3 for me. Really good scorer. I don't really think I need to justify much why he's here. On the Cavs, a pretty well-rounded team. He leads that team in scoring for obvious reasons. Just a really good player. I think he deserves to be at number 3 here and could potentially maybe prove me wrong and kind of be boosted up. He had a pretty good year last year.
Yeah. Number 2 for me, as you mentioned, I had Donovan Mitchell.
Yeah.
I like what I saw from him leading the Cavs. He's an extremely athletic player, like Anthony Edwards. They're actually quite similar players, but I think
a little bit.
Donovan, he
Probably
has
a slightly better shooter.
The 3-point shot.
Yeah.
I think he's proven. A few years back, I remember he averaged 4 3-pointers made a game when he was on the Jazz. So he's proven that he can lead that team as well. The Cavs were very good a few years back when they're fully healthy. I think with Darius Garland, Evan Mobley, Jarrett Allen, all those guys around him on the Cavs,
be a good team
they're going to be a good team. So I just gave him the nudge over Anthony Edwards. Number 1 for me was a little bit more clear. But who did you have at 2?
I have Devin Booker at 2. Tossing up whether he's a point guard or a shooting guard, but I think traditionally Devin Booker is a shooting guard. So we have added him into the list. So I got Devin Booker at number 2, and that will obviously explain who's at my number 1 pick. But Devin Booker, I think, has been exceptional, but he's been transitioning into a point guard a little bit. Great passer now, but it was a real big toss-up between these top 3, and it could be reordered any way, shape, or form. But I think Devin Booker's a great player. We don't even really need to go into details. He's proven from early on that he is a really good scorer, and yeah, that's all I really have to say about him.
Yeah, I think as you said, I mean, Devin Booker's my number 1. If you already figured that one out. But like you said, he played point guard last year for quite a bit with Bradley Beal at the 2. But going into next year, I think he's going to be slotted back into that traditional 2 spot with Tyus Jones playing at the 1. So that's why I'm foreseeing that Devin Booker is going to be the best shooting guard in the league next year, going back to his natural position. I think he's just an absolute bucket. I don't think anyone else on this list can get buckets like Devin Booker. So that's the reason why I have him at 1. And who's at 1 for you?
So Anthony Edwards at 1 for me. I just think he, after last season, and after what he proved at Paris this year too, just very athletic, His three ball is improving. Defensively, he's a bloody dog as well, which I think is really important at your 2 spot. Clear-cut best player on the Timberwolves, obviously. And I just think he's going to continue to improve. A really young guy, obviously younger than Book and Mitchell. So I think by the end of the year, he's probably just going to continue to excel in what he's doing. And I think by the end of next year, I think he will probably be the clear-cut best shooting guard in the NBA.
Very fair. So should we just quickly run back through our top 10 point guards there, Finn?
Yeah.
So for me, Anthony Simons is going to be the best shooting guard in the league this coming year. At number 10...
Sorry, wait. Can we just not... Can we just not... Do your damn list, boy.
At number 10, we have Jalen Green. Number 9, Zach LaVine. 8, CJ McCollum. 7, Anthony Simons. 6, Derek White. 5, Desmond Bane. 4, Kyrie Irving. 3, Anthony Edwards. 2, Donovan Mitchell. And number 1, Devin Booker.
I'm still baffled that you just said that. Anyway, so my list, I do like your list, but I think mine's probably a bit more accurate. And I want you to...
It's not.
Once again, down in the poll, please let us know who has the better list. I think I'm going to be winning once again because we've got Trailblazers biased over here.
We're coming back. It's
you're lucky
tie the series up at 1-1.
You're lucky Terrence Mann isn't here, babies. It'd be a better list. But here we go. We got Anthony Simons at number 10. CJ McCollum at number 9. Bradley Beal at number 8.
He's not a 2.
Zach LaVine at 7. Derek White at 6. Desmond Bane at 5, sorry. Kyrie Irving at 4, Donovan Mitchell at 3, Devin Booker at 2, and Anthony Edwards to round off my list at number 1.
Great. There's our top 10 list for shooting guards. And to finish off the video, we're going to give you our picks for 6th man of the year. Finn, who do you have winning 6th man of the year this coming season?
I think he low-key got snubbed last year, and this could be biased, Clippers bias, but we are going with Norman Powell of the LA Clippers. He had I think he averaged 16 or 18 points per game last year. Was a top, I think 5, maybe, I don't know, probably 10 and 3-point percentage as well. Defensively, he's improved.
Bias, guys.
You can't say crap, bro. Norman Powell is going to win 6th man of the year in the 2024-5 NBA season. William, yours right now. And
I don't know what's happened here. You've just gone full delusional. Storm and Norman is never winning an NBA award in his entire life.
NBA.
I'm sorry.
NBA award. You said
NBA.
NBL. You said NBL.
I said NBA. Anyway, maybe he'd win an NBL award. Yeah, but not NBA.
Sure, bro. Go on, man.
6th man of the year. The actual person who was snubbed last year. Norman wasn't even in conversation. It was between 2 guys, Naz Reid, and the guy who should have won it, Malik Monk. That's my pick for 6th man of the year. You heard it here first, guys. I think he's going to have a breakout year. Those are our picks. Make sure to leave a comment down below who you guys think is going to have 6th man of the year aspirations for this coming season.
It's Norman Powell.
It's not. You've lost the plot, Finn.
It's Norman Powell.
Anyway, thanks for joining us for another episode, guys. That was episode 5. Catch you again next week.